Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this special episode of The Power Source at Upper Room in Preston, Minnesota. We are here with a very special guest who traveled a long way from outside of Minnesota, even from Montana, I believe, right? Yeah. Long ways. This is Michael Erhart. You may recognize him from a band that actually performed not too far from us up the road here. Was that a year or two ago?
Yeah, it's exactly a year ago.
Trampolines. You're probably familiar with them. Look them up if you haven't heard of them before. Catch some of their YouTube videos. They haven't posted there, but Michael is now involved in his own worship, music, worship sessions, writing own music too at this point?
Writing my own. So I'm doing just worship music with some of the local ministry stuff I do.
Sure.
But as far as my own music, I'm doing an EDM concert tonight. So I've been doing EDM for a long time, but I'm also...
And what does EDM stand for?
Oh, electronic music. So electronic dance music.
Yeah.
So party, jump up and down, Jesus music.
That's an interesting genre too, to mix the Christian side of things with that. But we need more of that though. I mean, that's what's really interesting. That's why I'm really excited to have you here as a guest and kind of delve into some of this stuff that's very unique as far as worship goes, as far as our Christian faith goes. So thanks for joining us. This should be an awesome interview. I'm very excited. So you're in town, obviously, because of a concert that we've been talking about quite a bit over the past month or two. This is the What concert, which is going to be in Wyckoff today, by the way, this afternoon, starting at 5, I believe. The doors open?
Doors open at 5.
5, yep.
Oh,
and we've even got a poster here. So opens at 5. This is at the Wyckoff Commons. So make sure that you're there. They have games, competitions, crowd participation. Presence Music will be the other ones that will be there doing music as well. So two very different genres of music too. I mean, that's going to be an interesting mix of music. So doors open at 5. The show begins at 6 o'clock. And this is a free concert. So make sure you show up, bring all your friends, neighbors, everyone you know. And there's t-shirts, games, food, etc. And it's a great time. I have been to probably 4 of these now. I don't even know. Actually, the shirt I'm wearing was from one of them. Seventh Day Slumber was at one of them. It's been awesome every single time. They got BMX stunt bikes at one of them.
For such a small town, like a small venue, they do, like mine is just...
That's what's blown me away about the What concert. So I played it 2 other times, and we looked up the population of the town before we go. Like, there's 400 people in this whole town.
There'll be 3 people there.
And there's more than the population of the town. There's somehow, God, multiplies the fish.
Awesome. It's awesome,
Yes, he does.
It's been great to see. So if you haven't been to one, today is the chance. Should be a great day to be inside at 6 o'clock, I would think, right? A little chillier. Good to be inside and do some worship and hear some awesome music. Especially EDM. If you haven't heard that mixed with Christian music before, it's awesome. So make sure you come just for that even. I mean, so obviously when we have people on, we want to know all about them. So by the time you leave, everyone's going to know exactly who you are and everything, your shoe size. I mean, it won't be that bad. But anyways, we usually like to start, by just allowing our guests to give a little bit of background, like who are you, what are you involved with, how'd you get into this? So yeah,
absolutely. So my name is Michael. I am a musician, and I also do missions work. I've done missions work for the past 3 or 4 years. And I got my start doing music. I grew up musical. In a musical family, musical house. Yeah.
This is one of those generational blessings I see a lot, where where there's music in the family, it continues to the next generation. It's like we see this pattern that often follows. So that's awesome.
So I grew up playing music in youth group. Yeah. In fact, my first ever time in youth group, never been to youth group before, and I walk in the door, and the guy walks up to me and he's like, "Hey, my name is so-and-so. Would you like to play on our worship team tonight?"
Your first time there.
First time ever.
Wow.
You must really...
play the kazoo, but sure. Let's have a cowbell. I don't know, what do you play your first time out?
So anyways, I played in youth group in church growing up on the worship team, and just always, and then really got into it when I was in high school, because I was kind of, I was forced to take music lessons and stuff when I was young, and but then I actually started getting into it, and there was the best of the best Christian music scene when I was growing up.
Sure.
So
like who?
Oh man, Reliant K.
Okay, Reliant K is a good one. Yeah.
Hawk Nelson, all these underground Christian bands. Christian rock was a huge thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not so much anymore. I mean, there is Christian rock, obviously, still. But when I was a kid, it was just a totally different scene. So anyways, I loved Christian music growing up. Awesome. I loved going to concerts. I still do love going. In fact, I'm going to see Josiah Queen. I'm going to see Josiah Queen right after.
That's a good one. Yeah, look up Josiah too. That's a good one.
So anyways, I started wanting to write my own music, write my own songs, and I was really starting to get into EDM at the time, but there wasn't a lot of it out yet. It was, especially in Christian, there was nothing.
No.
In the early 2000, like early to mid 2000s, there was no Christian EDM that I knew of. So, anyways, I was like kind of just producing these songs, and you got to keep in mind the internet was a lot different world back then. There was no Spotify,
right?
So,
can you imagine that?
It was a lot better, actually. So, anyways, Christian music music industry completely different. So, I put my music on SoundCloud. SoundCloud, which was the thing, was like the underground, just like all these like niche artists. It kind of felt like cool, like everyone's listening to Taylor Swift, but like I've got my artist on SoundCloud. So I would release my music on SoundCloud, and I think Tumblr was like a big one at the time. Like all these like weird things that aren't even around anymore. But so anyways, I would like put my music out on that, and one of them is still up on YouTube. And I'm gonna do a new version of it tonight.
Hey, the remix.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. So I never officially released it on iTunes or Spotify, but so anyways, I was like doing all these songs, and then I ended up going to worship school for a year in Colorado Springs with. He wasn't even a big name at all at this time, but Corey Asbury was my teacher at the time.
That's a good teacher.
He's doing. He was a great teacher. So, but this was before he even wrote Reckless Love and blew up and all this stuff. But so, anyways, he was one of my teachers. It was a great school. Like there were so many incredible people. So that's kind of when I got immersed in the world of like actually leadership and worship and like learning how to actually like take that and do a ministry with it and like lead people. And
it's so important too. I mean, that you got that experience. I mean, this is something we see a lot when we interview people, is the whole concept of our Christian walk, that iron sharpens iron, you know, and getting into a group of other people like that, you can't help but just grow exponentially in that type of an environment. And I think it's something we as Christians need to learn too. Like, you can't just isolate yourself and never interact with others. Like, you all have a gift that you can all share with each other, and it will help other people's gifts grow and be expressed and mature. And I think that's a really good takeaway from what you just mentioned, because I don't know if we've had another worship leader on here that has that type of an experience. That's really neat. So
we've had other worship leaders.
I was blessed. I was just blessed with like amazing teachers. Like at this school, like I kind of went into it with a critical attitude. Like I was a lot different person back then. I was a brand new believer. Just like kind of had an attitude where I was like, these guys, like it was a mega church, so I had a pretty bad attitude about mega churches at the time. I was like, this is going to be like a big showy church, you know, and they ended up being amazing. I was like blown away. I was like, wow, it really like humbled me. So anyways, I went to this school for a year, and it was just incredible. And then honestly, I didn't do much with music after that until about probably like 6 months before I joined trampolines. So I kind of took a break from music. I was honestly, even though it was a great program, I was a little burnt out by the end of it, because we literally did worship every day. So like every day for 11 months, they had us like doing something with worship. We were like leading. They had like the World Prayer Center, and they had like worship literally going pretty much all day long. Like back to back. So so I was a little, even though it was like incredible, I was a little burnt out, and so I kind of took a break from music for a little bit, and then after that I I felt God calling me back into it. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I just started getting opportunities that I wasn't getting before. So, so there was it's a recovery group that meets at my church called Erhart. They just like I got randomly connected with them through their ministry, Greater Impact nonprofit. Yeah. So I randomly got connected through them because I booked trampolines before I was in the band because I was a fan of them. I was like listening to them, everything. And so I booked them through this organization, got connected with them, and then got connected with their like ministries that they do, and they asked me to lead worship, and so I started doing that, and then that kind of led to me getting connected with the church that I now go to, Venture Church in Bozeman. And so then they asked me to lead worship there, not lead worship, but I was on the worship team, type thing. And then so then I like kind of got back into music, and then right around that time I had booked trampolines again in my hometown, and they so I had been good friends with Lane. He was the lead singer of the band, and I'd been friends with him for a long time. And when I booked them the second time, he was like, "Hey, Michael, we're actually looking to bring on a full band. What would you be interested in, like maybe doing like a trial tour with us, just coming on the road with us for a couple of weeks and just see what that looks like?" And I was like, yes, absolutely.
No kidding,
I've always
right?
wanted to be in a
awesome.
Christian band or like tour and do music and at least try it out. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, let's try it.
That's
so
awesome.
So that's kind of how I got my start in music.
That's really interesting, and I think it's really interesting the pathway that you just described, because first of all, if anyone's a worship leader or has been in the past, or just a leader, a minister, pastor, whatever it is, I think it's really important that you shared that, I almost got burnt out on this or something, like I was doing this every day. And I think that's vitally important when you're a leader to take a break or a sabbatical, or there are these seasons of rest. I mean, even in the Psalms, there were rests in between the stanzas, right? Yeah. Selah, right? Selah? Yeah. Anyways, so I think it's an important pattern of rest and activity that God has established in our lives, And if you're dealing with this, maybe this message is for you too. Like, maybe God's talking to you right now, like, you're praying about that. Am I supposed to be resting and refilling, recharging my batteries here? And maybe in that rest, God's going to be moving pieces around like he was with you, it sounds like, too. Yeah. I mean, during that rest, stuff was still happening. God was still doing things. And you came back recharged at just the right time, it sounds like. So, wow. So you got right into performing then with the trampolines, it sounds like. And then you were traveling all over the place, I suppose, at that point, touring. And I mean, how often were you doing shows, do you think?
Nonstop. So if we weren't touring in the U.S., then we would go overseas and do missions. Yeah. And some of those missions also included tours within the missions. So we, like, right when I joined, we did like a rehearsal in Washington State, and then we hit the road, and we were hardly ever not on the road. We were just on the road nonstop. It was amazing, super blast.
So it's good you had rested before that, I'd say. Like, it was perfect. Yeah. That's God's timing right there. I'd say. Perfect timing, the way this worked out. Yeah. And so you had this season of time with the trampolines, which awesome group, like I said, look them up. And now God's doing this new thing, which is even more exciting. It's like there's this growth happening upon growth. And it's really interesting, these seasons that people go through, which I think is also vitally important, these seasons. And sometimes they're short seasons, sometimes they're longer seasons, but this is another characteristic of God, is how he'll bring us through these different seasons, and each season, grows us in a different way or something, but it brings us deeper into relationship with God, or grows us somehow. Right. It's been my experience and the experience of probably everyone we've talked to on this show, honestly. Looking at Tara, and she's like, but so what is this next chapter, do you think, that he's brought you into here? When did you start, when did you go out on your own to do the EDM music?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I I have done, so like I mentioned before that, I had done EDM music before that, and then I did it with the trampolines. And then when I went out on my own, I still have a love for EDM music, and obviously I'm doing it tonight, and I'm going to continue to do it. But I also, I was like, man, I really want to branch into some other styles of music too.
Yeah.
So so I'm still doing EDM music, but I'm also starting to write like clean comedy music.
Oh, interesting.
And some of that is
okay, I have to stop there. What is clean comedy music?
I think I know.
So there's a lot.
Is this like
of
Weird Al Yankovic type stuff?
so here's Weird Al Yankovic's my favorite. Like,
Yeah, that was the first concert I ever went to. Was a Weird Al Yankovic concert. Yeah, when I was 13. So shout out to Al. Yeah, and actually my kids, that was their first concert. How many years later? But so interesting. That I don't know how many people would be in that category.
That's one of the reasons I'm kind of pursuing it, because
really
everyone's doing EDM now.
Interesting.
But nobody is doing, and so what I'm trying to tap into is like original comedy songs that aren't parodies. So because Weird Al Yankovic, he does parodies.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Which is great, but I see there are some artists like doing comedy music, but it's it's not clean at all.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like. I've always done comedy my whole life.
Okay.
I've never done stand-up. I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I've done content, comedian, like comedy content.
Sure.
I got my start with that on Twitter.
Okay,
And I just wrote, so, I mean, again, the internet was a completely different world.
Yeah.
People would like write these tweets or like these original jokes on Twitter, or like do these like original memes or something.
Yeah.
So that's how I got my start with that, and I built up my account to like 60,000 followers.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Just like tweeting like just off the wall ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really camera shy back then.
Of course.
And again,
this is how God does it usually. Yeah.
Back then, like there wasn't video content like there is now. There was YouTube, and then there was like Twitter, and it was all text.
I suppose
so
that's
like
true.
all text. There was Instagram, all photos, no reels. It was all like completely different world.
Wow.
So I was super camera shy. I wouldn't get on the camera, but I would like write these jokes on Twitter.
That's pretty good.
So now that's kind of transitioned into right now basically what I would call myself is I'm a Christian musician and content creator. So I do like music, and then I do like, now that everything's video, that's one thing that trampolines kind of got me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like I'm comfortable now being on camera, because I did like 100 interviews like this, and now like I'm comfortable with it all. So now it's kind of turned into like doing video content, funny content, and then music as well.
And this is so vital that people hear this at home too. I mean, and this is, I think, God's heart for the church and for any Christian and even non-Christians. I think, God has placed a gift even in people that aren't Christians, and He will draw that out of them, and that will draw them into relationship ultimately. They'll know God, then. Mm-hmm. But it's so vital that people think outside the box a little bit more about what God can do. It's kind of like the church. I don't want to generalize too much, but I think there was a feeling for a while that the church was kind of operating inside this box a little bit, and we've seen this, that God's really bringing the church outside of this box and out into the world and making it vibrant and creative, and full of life, and I think that's what the church was meant to be, So what you're doing is actually exactly what the church is supposed to be. I mean, operating outside the box, doing new things, being creative, reaching people however they can, and blessing people. That's the other thing. I mean, what an awesome thing. Obviously, you had 60,000 followers on Twitter or whatever. That content was reaching people and impacting them in a positive way, obviously, or they wouldn't have followed you on Twitter. So it's I think that's a big takeaway for people watching at home too, is like, start thinking creatively, think outside the box. It's okay, even if it's outside your comfort zone. Obviously, you're talking about that. We're outside our comfort zone here. We've said that many times. Like, this is way beyond anything we're trained to do. But
if you're doing something that you're really good at, well, not good at, but like that you really are comfortable at,
Yeah.
then where's God?
Yep.
You know,
That's true. Yeah. Yep. When you're outside your comfort zone, that's where you're relying on God.
That's what I learned.
He has to be the center.
Yeah, that is what I learned when I was with my time with trampolines, because I had never done missions. I had been on one mission trip with the worship school that I went to, to Jamaica, so it wasn't that far. It was, I mean, it wasn't comfortable. It was hot and humid and definitely a different culture environment, culture shock, because I'd never been out of the country at that point. But beyond, like, I had never done missions. I'd never done like full-time ministry, and then all of a sudden I go from that to all of a sudden doing full-time ministry, music, missions, and then and you know, they didn't pressure me to do any of this stuff. They I joined this band fully knowing that these singers from this band did missions in war zones.
Wow.
So I was like, but I told them when I joined the band, I'm like, I'm down to do the music, but I don't know if I'm down to like go and into dangerous countries and like share the gospel. That I just wasn't there yet. So I toured with them for a year, and God just started working on my heart, and like, I don't know, and again, no pressure from them at all. No, they never pressured me to go with them or anything. And eventually, though, I was like, man, I feel called to go to Ethiopia with you guys, and that was I think that was my first trip.
It's a different experience from Jamaica.
Yeah, totally. Well, and we went to a war-torn area of Ethiopia with, you know, a war currently going on. And it was definitely an experience for me, totally different. It grew me, stretched me spiritually. And so that's kind of how I got my start with missions, which I still do now. I don't do it full time anymore, but I still love, and I do local ministry too as well, but I still do missions, and definitely it's always going to be a part of my life.
That's awesome. So when you've been on these mission trips, I mean, especially, I know there are people who are watching that have been on mission trips, so they know what they are. There are probably also people watching that have never been on a mission trip and don't really know what it's about, you know? So when you go into some of these places, like you mentioned the war zones or Ethiopia or whatever, you'd go there, and what would happen? I mean, you'd go and perform, or would you do like street ministry, or like what kind of stuff? Would you pray for people? Or
that's a great question. So it depends on where we went. So we would, because we'd be, you know, flying so far, we would usually try to plan it so we'd able to do a music tour, and then also do our missions at the same time. So we're not flying back and forth all the time. So we'd fly, and we usually start in like Europe, and we do mostly music through Europe, but then we'd focus heavily on like sharing the gospel, and like we'd go into classrooms and go in front of people.
Interesting.
I mean, Europe is a completely different, like, it's totally normal in Estonia to have like a special guest just come in and not even talk about school, just like, and the gospel isn't like censored there, where like they're not offended to have somebody come in and talk about something that they might not agree with. So like you can actually go in like Estonian schools and to talk about Jesus and just what our faith and what we believe. It's not like America, the Christian nation.
To say? Is that a weird thing to say?
Yeah. So anyways, we would do that, and we do concerts in the schools too.
Wow. So
that was a really cool thing that you never see in America very much. Yeah, Estonia is amazing. It's probably my favorite country.
Wow.
So anyways, we'd go and do these like concerts in schools, and then we would like, because we're on like that side of Europe, we'd go into Ukraine, and that would be more like mission focused, like because they're dealing with the war and everything, we would like take in humanitarian aid to them, and then we do concerts where we can, and then we like, so the last time I was in Ukraine, we went like all the way to the eastern front lines with Russia, like really close, and it was like, it was definitely, that trip stretched me too, because it was, you know, it was just so dangerous, and you know, and people like ask me like, oh, like you're going to Ukraine, you must be like really brave, and I'm like, no, I'm not actually. It's like definitely not. But it's just because I truly do believe in what I believe in, and so I think that Jesus is worth it.
Yeah.
And like getting the gospel to people and like taking care of people. Like we're not called to just be comfortable, and like we're actually called to risk our lives for Christ.
Yeah. And that's the pattern that's in the Bible too.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of the original disciples, for example, went into some very hostile places.
Yeah.
And I mean, even Paul knew he was going to end up in Rome and probably being killed, you know, and he did it anyways, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really it's very moving to think about that. Like, man, I feel like I fall short in some ways that way, but you know, God calls everyone to do different things, you know. But I mean, is that really what our mission field is supposed to look like? I mean, going into these dangerous places and sharing the gospel and relying on God basically to provide and protect and, you know, spread the gospel, you know. And what an experience. That would definitely grow my faith right there, I would think. So.
Yeah, and again, like this, you know, I don't say any of this to like make me look like, oh, I'm so spiritual, like going to these places, or like, no, the truth is like this really stretched my faith, and I'm like, okay, now like the rubber meets the road, like I really believe this stuff, and like that's kind of a huge part of my ministry now is I'm really into apologetics and just like, why do I believe what I believe? Like, what do I believe? And then why do I believe it? Like, do I just believe it because that's how I was raised? Or do I really have like substance to my faith?
Yeah.
And so it's, and if
so
you
important.
don't, like, it's kind of like, it makes it a lot harder to go to these places, because it's so easy to talk about like, oh yeah, Paul, you know, went to his death, but then when you actually have the opportunity to do it, it's like, oh man, like it's so much easier. It's so much easier to like talk about this stuff. You know, but then I'll also say, like, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not a Christian if you're called, like you said, everyone's called to different things, and I'm not even like doing that as much anymore, like into these war-torn countries.
It might have been a season.
It was kind of a season, and maybe I'll do it again someday. But I definitely, missions is definitely still a part of my life, and now I'm able to serve more in local ministry too.
And it's vital what you said too. I think about you know, questioning, why do I believe this? You know, and this is another thing too. You know, that we're all for, which is, you know, it's okay to question God. And to question the Bible. God isn't afraid of that, you know.
Right.
If it's truth, you know, we've said this before, truth will withstand the strictest scrutiny. You know?
Truth doesn't fear questions.
Right, exactly. If you've got someone telling you something and they're afraid for you to question that, it exposes that statement or whatever they're saying as a lie, as a deception, because it's going to be revealed if it's questioned. With the Bible, with Christianity, God's all like, ask away, you know. I want you to ask, because that's relationship. He's so personal. Like, he wants to know what's on your mind. What are you afraid of? What are your questions, your fears, whatever it is.
Right.
Let's talk about it, you know. And that's honestly what drew me back into Christianity, was the ability to question it, you know, and the fact that it always evoked more questions, and I loved that. And there were always answers, you know, and that was the other thing. But wow, yeah. So so I think that's a really important part of the journey that you just talked about there too. Like, if you're at home, question away, and if you're at a church where they're saying don't ask questions, you know, do some praying about that. Like, you know, am I at the right church? You know,
ask more questions.
Yeah, ask more questions. Then I guess I don't know. Pray about it first is what I always tell people. God will, you know, tell you. You know.
Yeah.
But So you've been in a lot of interesting different scenarios with your Christian faith here, honestly. Have you ever seen God do something that just kind of made you go, I just saw God do something in this moment, you know?
Yeah, so let me think of something recently.
Putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot.
I was literally thinking about it. was thinking about it maybe today or yesterday, where God just, oh man, so I've had the opportunity to lead this group called Regen with my church. It's like a monthly young adult group, and I've just seen where I've taken these steps out in faith, and not just with like doing ministry, but like I felt convicted that I wasn't giving enough like a year ago, and God was like convicting me that I wasn't I wasn't being really truly generous with my finances. I was just kind of giving the bare minimum, and God really just kind of convicted me where I was like, he was like, if you give and like truly give out of your, not out of just your leftovers,
right.
but if you give your first fruits to me, then I will bless you. And that doesn't mean like wealth and prosperity. What I'm talking about is that means that God is going to bless me with opportunities, and but then because I wasn't in a good financial spot. Like I was still doing, like I was raising support myself. I was like raising support and like living off full-time like mission support. Yeah. And I was like, man, like I don't know, but I was like I kind of went through like some teaching on giving and just like all these different things. And as soon as I started giving more, I also have an online marketing business. All of a sudden, like I had like clients reaching out to me.
Is that
like,
interesting?
Hey, can we hire you to do like
That's
marketing
awesome.
for us?
Yeah.
And I didn't have those opportunities before.
Yeah.
But then so that was like something huge that God like showed me, like that he like if you like his way is so much better than ours. Like we think that by saving every penny and just keeping it all to ourselves that we're gonna have more money,
right?
Because that's how people think. They're like, oh, if I give my money away, then I'm gonna have less, and I don't even have money myself. Like I've said it myself, like why should I give more? I hardly have anything, and I'm like living off other people's income and all this stuff. But as soon as I got convicted, and I was like, man, like I need to be, especially if I'm like asking people for support, how much more should I be giving out of? So
it's such an interesting topic too that isn't talked about enough, I don't think, and it's a vital part of our Christian experience, which is tithing, giving, offerings, and this is something that's been a part of our Christian faith from the very beginning. I mean, the first fruits, giving of the first fruits, sacrifices, whatever it is, and it's, I think the world has kind of twisted our view of money and how we're supposed to manage it, whereas God's view is the other way around. Right. It's like, this is not your money, it's mine, at first. But it really is a heart issue, I think. It really is a test of where you're at in your faith walk a lot of times too. Like if God is like saying, give 10%, or let's say a tithe or something, let's say, and you're counting the pennies like,
it kind of shows where your heart is.
Yeah, it's like instead of just doing it and trusting.
If you're
God,
so hung up on like a 10% number, like that was old covenant.
Right.
Like
exactly.
how much more in the new covenant are we supposed to be even more generous in giving? Like, so that was my big struggle with giving, is like I would always say, oh yeah, like when Sunday comes around I'll give, and then like I wouldn't have cash on me, or I'd make some excuse. Oh, there's always been an excuse.
Everyone's been there at some point. We've been there too, don't we?
So what I started doing is, now that I've been doing missions for so long, I know all these missionaries that they all need support.
They absolutely.
So they're doing like full, and these are missionaries that I was doing full-time ministry with, missions with, and now they are continuing to do full-time missions. And so what I do is I just support them monthly, and it just automatically comes. So then there's that accountability where there's no way that I can make an excuse with like, oh, I don't have the cash, or I don't have blah blah blah, and it automatically just comes out. And if I were to cancel, like these are friends of mine, so like if I were to cancel, they would see that, and so there's like almost that accountability of like and it's not that I'm giving out of that, it's that there's just that extra layer of like, okay, incentive of like, it just comes out, and I need to just make sure I have the money.
And it's interesting too. I mean, I don't think either one of us is trying to say this is some, special formula where like if you give this much, God is going to bless you financially, and it's just going to rain money or something like that. Yeah. Not at all. That's not how God does this at all. But He'll provide. It's more a drawing away from reliance on the world and the world's way of thinking of things that you need, as far as possessions or money or whatever it is. And it's a drawing closer into reliance upon God and God's favor and blessing, increasing in your life. And we've shared our story here, like how this place got paid for, which is a miracle literally of reliance on God, where we didn't even end up with a mortgage on this place because of what God did here. I mean, it's incredible.
That's awesome.
But that was a lot of steps in faith right there. Like, we're supposed to do this. This is going to cost a lot of money. We might not have a penny left in the bank when this is done, and that's okay, and God absolutely blessed it and multiplied the small amount we had to cover the cost of building this place. Just incredible. And that's how it showed up in our life too, but also blessings. Like, just, you were talking about some other things, like you saw it in your life, like these things just started happening, like clients showing up, you mentioned, right? And things like that. And that's one way God can do it. There are a lot of ways. There is no limit to the way that God can find to bless you, when you're drawing to reliance with Him. But that's a very important thing, I think, that you mentioned here that people need to hear more of, honestly, is that. And it's sometimes not as flashy, and stuff like that, and it's some kind of self-sacrifice that you do on your own, When you're on your own, no one's gonna even know you're doing it, probably even, a lot of the time. And that's where the rubber meets the road. Like you said, you've had a lot of those moments though, where it's like rubber meets the road, and then this growth happens, from that rubber meeting the road.
Sometimes literally the rubber hitting the road when I'm on tour, and the van gets a flat tire, and I'm not even kidding how many times that's happened where we get a flat tire. The rubber really does hit the road.
It does.
We would actually lay hands on our van and pray for it.
That's awesome.
We had so many.
I love that. Get creative with this. So that's a very good example. And have you seen God do some other things through like the missions work or your music stuff too? I mean, I know you said you have a lot of different stories, and I don't expect you to tell all of them. Was there anything else that came to mind when we mentioned that maybe you'd want to share to encourage people at home?
So I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I'm doing right now. So right now, I didn't think I would do music. Like, I kind of took another break from music. After I was in trampolines, and I didn't think I would do it again, but honestly, I just kind of made this song for fun. I was like, still doing comedy content and stuff, and I was like, oh, let me like just kind of write this silly song and like put it on my TikTok account, but I had no plan to actually put this on Spotify or anything. Okay. It was just kind of like kind of a funny video content piece, and then it just blew up. It
awesome.
got hundreds of thousands of views on like TikTok, and I was like, wow, people like think this is funny and like this, and so that's kind of, I was like, man, I really have a passion for comedy and like clean comedy music and just all these, and I'm a musician, so why don't I like start writing my own like clean comedy songs?
It's like convergence of a lot of different things
in
one spot. So
and I've been doing EDM for so long, and I'm going to continue to do it, and I love it, but I've also gotten into like Christian folk and like even country a little bit. I never used to listen to country.
Right.
But so I'm doing like a little bit of that. I'm doing like I'm doing Christian music, I'm doing like clean comedy music, and then I'm doing like kind of folk music, or a lot of my Christian music is gonna be in that kind of folk style. But then I'm still doing EDM. So what my plans for that is I am actually gonna come up with a name for my EDM project. That's still kind of in the works. And then all these songs that I had on SoundCloud that I was talking about, I'm basically gonna re-release under this new name and put like everything out there. And it's still gonna
You'll be kind of like Garth Brooks. What did he change his name?
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm not changing my name. I'm still gonna have it all on my personal social media accounts. So like everyone can find it. It's not gonna be like this new thing you have to find or anything. It's gonna be all but basically the only reason I'm doing that is just genre wise, so it makes sense. Because if I'm doing like country and like EDM like in the same, it would just be a little all over the place.
I'm trying to picture what that would sound like, country EDM.
EDM.
EDM. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be a new genre right there.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I can hear it now.
Yeah, I know. I like trying to
I actually
figure out
am
what the sound of that would be.
I am doing one EDM song tonight.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So come
to hear that.
Yeah.
If nothing else. That's
Yeah.
a kind song right there. I'm looking forward to that. So
yeah.
Well, that's really exciting to hear that. So a lot happening. So we mentioned the concert tonight, and you've been here previously with the trampolines. Do you know Presence Music at all?
Yeah, I played a show with them before.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember when or where, but I remember, doing a show somewhere with them. It was probably like a mini festival somewhere.
Interesting.
I know them, and they, when, Maya and James booked them, they're like, oh yeah, we know Michael, like it was cool, really cool, like combination.
There must
so,
be something happening here. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So I mean, both your bands have probably played a lot of different venues, obviously of different sizes and stuff like that. What's the biggest venue you've been at, do you think?
Yeah, so probably Life Fest in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Life Fest.
It's the biggest Christian music festival in the U.S.
Yeah, been there. Tara's pointing to herself.
I've been there.
Yeah.
They still have Life Fest going on, I think, every year.
It was a long time ago when I was there.
It's actually my favorite Christian music festival. It's incredible.
Look that up. Look that up. Get tickets now.
Tons of stages.
A lot of stages, a lot of different music. Yep.
Yeah.
That's an exciting one too. So shout out. We definitely want to put that one on a platform too.
We should go. We should go sometime.
Yeah, Tara's like, let's get some tickets.
Yeah, it's probably not too far from here, right?
No, Oshkosh is what?
It's all
hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh,
no, it's more than that.
No, what are you talking about?
I'm thinking of a different.
It is like 5 hours.
5 hours.
6
Even
hours.
5 hours.
It's like
worth the drive.
It's all the way across. You have to drive all the way across Wisconsin.
Me, I'm from Montana.
Yeah,
so
longer drive.
Anything
it's
I go
drivable.
to, I have to fly.
Yeah.
Pretty much because nobody really comes to Montana except Josiah Queen is coming to Montana.
That's
but
awesome.
We're getting more, but like really for a while we didn't get anyone.
Interesting.
Because it's just kind of like there's not a market for it.
Yeah.
I come from a very non-Christian city. Like Bozeman is like it's dry, very dry spiritually. So that's why there's kind of a huge need for like local ministry and
I was
stuff.
gonna say, is that a mission field right
It
there?
kind of is, honestly, but it's a really tough one because people. It's a very big state with low population. Everyone's just kind of spread out. They like to just keep to themselves and very introverted. Like people don't. It's not as social of a in city where people are just going out and like people move there because they want to be alone and they want to like kind of just do their own thing and keep to themselves. So it is and it's funny because that is polar opposite of me.
Yeah.
So that's the struggle with
Yeah.
it. Is I am always like, hey, you guys want to go do something? And people are like, oh, I just want to stay home. And like, I'm just like, But yeah, it's definitely very dry. I mean, there are great churches and like there is a lot of Christians, but at the same time, so the city I live in is, and you can look this up, fact check me, it has been labeled the drunkest city in America.
Wow.
Bozeman,
That's
Montana.
quite a label to have.
Yeah, the drunkest city in
goodness.
America. So it is, Yeah, there's a lot of everyone drinks alcohol, everyone, and you know, not anything necessarily against alcohol, but like people will get drunk, and it's like a pretty normal thing.
It's part of their identity.
You know, it's just it's just like So there's a huge need for Jesus in Bozeman, Montana.
And who knows? Maybe someone's watching right now. God's putting Bozeman on your heart. You know, like I'm supposed to go there. You know, pray about that. Pray for Bozeman if nothing else. If people are watching, right? I guess. That God opens some roads, opens some doors for people to go through there. And God can move in mighty ways even in Bozeman. I think that's a good declaration.
Even in Bozeman. Even in my drunk city I come from.
But also even in Preston, even in Wyckoff.
Preston, Wyckoff, you know, you name it, in your city, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. What a contrast though. I mean, and I mean, especially when you're growing up as a Christian and you're doing Christian music and stuff like that, and then you end up in a place like that, it's an interesting place. I mean, even that could test your faith, I would think. Like, you're surrounded by people that don't believe, or if they believe, they're introverts about it, so you wouldn't even know it sometimes, it sounds like. And I mean, how does a Christian deal with that if they like feel like they're in a place like that where... You know.
So that has been the biggest struggle. So, you know, I'm in my 30s now and I'm single, and finding friendships and good, like close Christian friendships, or just friendships in general has been a struggle. So that is probably the biggest struggle that I'm dealing with right now, is just like, and that's why I have a ministry and community, because this is also for me, like community, like trying to foster community in a place like Bozeman is also kind of for me too. It's like, I need this just as much as everyone. And that is the biggest struggle and something I'm still trying to figure out.
Right.
And I mean, people have asked me, like, I think Maya asked me yesterday, so are you thinking of staying in Bozeman like long term? Are you open to moving? Like, and I'm kind of like, well, I love it there. It's like home to me, but at the same time, I'm always open to like where God leads, and if I'm supposed to move, because that is a huge struggle there. It's just like kind of a lack of community, a lack of like I don't know, like Christian, and it's also the kind of the age bracket I'm in. I'm like in my 30s, I'm single. Everyone else, not everyone, but a lot of people my age are like married, and they're just like in a different stage of life. So that also kind of makes it hard too.
And I think that's another area where the church is getting better. I think it's gotten a lot better actually, just during my lifetime even, is the understanding that there's a need for community in the church, especially, vitally within the church. And then I think we're supposed to take that community outside of the church, because I mean, we all know the stats on loneliness and depression and things like people feeling isolated, you know, stuff like that.
I think our stats in Bozeman there aren't the highest, but they're like one of the highest for depression in Bozeman too.
And those two things are intertwined. I mean, isolation and feeling depressed or listless, you know, like, you know, what's my goal or direction in life, you know, I think that's vitally important, finding that community, you know, and the church is a place you can find that. And I think that's another thing for people at home right now. I mean, if you want community, find a good church where they have solid, you know, community opportunities, which can mean a lot of different things. I mean, small groups and prayer. You mentioned you're part of what you do, like Bible study, stuff like that. You're part of a Bible study.
So I'm part of 2 different Bible studies, and I help lead one of them now, and then the monthly one that I do.
And my experience is that's a great place to find instant community, because these are usually like-minded people, probably looking for the same thing you are, you know, you know, and you can just kind of be yourself around them and talk about God, you know, and worship God. So I think that's the easiest way to find community, especially if you're a Christian. If you're a non-Christian, this is the other misconception too, I think, is people who are non-Christians. We got more water. Look at that.
Keep
Where did that come from?
I'm also trying to like
We're talking about dry places.
I'm trying to remember too that I'm doing a concert tonight and need to save my voice.
Yes.
I know, like,
yeah.
he's gonna do that pretty good.
Yeah.
So we told him this would maybe be a 4 or 5 hour interview.
Probably can't do that.
Probably.
Hey, if
We'll
I
wrap
didn't have a concert tonight, I would totally do that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I would love that.
We won't.
Yeah, we won't make you do that. No, we won't make you do that. We'll try and cap it here pretty soon. But the small group Bible study is I really encourage people to find that. And if you're a non-Christian and you want to know, if you want community and you want to know more about Christianity in a very personal way where you can ask questions in a very informal setting, Bible studies are great. Find a good church with a good solid small group set up or Bible study. There are a lot of them around, and you might not know about it. Ask around a little bit. I think if you ask at any church, I think they could at least connect you with one. At least most churches I'm familiar with have some sort of small group. Yeah. But and maybe you have tips on that. Do you know how a person could get connected? I mean. Yeah.
So man, it's kind of sometimes one of those things you have to seek out. So like when I moved to Nashville, I literally just went on Google and Googled small groups.
Interesting. I've never tried
studies.
That. That's a good idea.
Yeah, most people don't think to do that, but that is top priority for me. Even more so than going to church on Sunday. That is just top of my list of priorities. So, but no, I would, usually when you go to a church, it's usually in the bulletin or it's they announce it or there's some way to find, like you say, most churches have small groups.
And they want more people in the small groups has been my experience,
Oh yeah.
And especially non-Christians, they would love for you to come and ask them questions or get plugged in or whatever, absolutely. So if you're non-Christian, definitely seek out a small group. Even if you're not sure if you want to be a Christian, if you're looking for community, very friendly, inviting type of place to go and find community that's very safe. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you'd mentioned that beforehand, that you were involved in that too, that's another aspect of your walk is being in a small group, because we also are in a couple different small groups, 2 of them right now. One's a Zoom one and one is in person with some other families in the area. And
I would consider worship team another small
worship
group.
team is another small group at our church. Yep. So it's so I think multiple small groups are okay too. I mean, it just grows kind of your connections with people. So and I think that's how God does it. That's kind of it. He can solve that isolation problem, the loneliness problem, that easily. That easily. So, and we should give you an opportunity too. Any other topics you want to cover?
Definitely, if you're in the area, come to the concert tonight.
What concert?
The what concert?
The what concert?
I actually did. Yeah, that's the promo video I did. I was having a conversation with myself. Good. I was like, oh, awesome. What concert are you going to? Yes, exactly. That one.
It's like the Who's on First.
Who's on First. Yeah.
Abbott and Costello, right?
Yeah, but honestly, man, I can't think of too much else. I'm sure there is something.
Sure.
But I just my mind is kind of.
A lot to discuss, yeah. So, usually at the end of each episode, we'll have our guests, close with a prayer or a word or an encouragement or a verse or whatever God puts on your heart. Would you mind doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds good.
Let's close with prayer. So God, I just thank you so much for Eric and this ministry in itself, this podcast, and I just pray that I thank you so much for just him inviting me to be on and just the awesome encouragement that I've just felt so far. And I just pray for the city of Wyckoff and surrounding areas, God. I pray that you would just pour out your spirit upon the city and that you would just, beyond just bringing people to a concert and having a good time, that you would use tonight to bring people to the gospel and expose people to the gospel and to your word, maybe for the first time. I pray for the small groups and just worship upper room that these guys are involved in. I pray that you would just continue to bless that ministry, and that this would just be a fruitful ministry that would just bring people to you and bring people to worshiping you, and just like learn having people learn what that is more, and creating more opportunities to worship you. And I just thank you so much for that, and the opportunities just in this city, this small town that is just so amazing to see in such a small area. So many opportunities to just serve you and worship you. And I pray that you would just continue to spread the gospel in Wyckoff and the surrounding areas, God. And I just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Wow. Well, we certainly appreciated having you on. Oh, Tara was going to say something.
Well, you can't get through a session without having Maya make a comment.
Oh,
kidding.
Maya, yep. One of the main organizers of the What Concert. Has been following.
I've got to say what Maya said.
Yep.
So first she had said, Michael produced both of my songs. He's a talented artist in many ways. We're excited to have him be a part of What Concert tonight. And then she also said, Montana needs a What Concert.
Montana needs a What
So
Concert.
apparently Maya is going to be traveling to Montana.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm all
That's your
for it.
prayer. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's very exciing. So,
Yes.
catch the What Concert tonight.
Yeah.
We'll be doing actually a second interview today with Presence Music, and their band members at 3 o'clock. We may be live streaming that, or we may actually post that also. This one will be posted where we live streamed it. We'll probably actually post it a second time next week, since this is kind of a special interview session that we're doing today. Normally we're Thursday night, so if you want to tune in next week, we'll be live again next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. And we'll be posting this interview and the Presence Music one. So watch our Facebook page for that, and YouTube. And then we are going to be starting our live worship sessions upstairs. We'll be live streaming those again, just like we've been doing in years past. And Citadel is going to be kicking things off for us this year on May 15th. So mark your calendars right now. And we'll be posting more about that, specific times and dates for other worship groups and musicians and etc. coming up soon as well. So be watching our Facebook page for that. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you at the What Concert tonight. Have an awesome day.